Hello everybody, Joker here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to talk about physical objects in Rec Room, and specifically I'm going to talk about the different densities that you can have of physical objects. To demonstrate what different weights and densities mean of physical objects, behind me I've got lined up some sniper target dummies, and I've already made these and configured them with the different densities that you can have. From left to right, they are least dense to most dense. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot them with this sniper rifle, and that means I'm going to apply the same amount of force to each of them, and we can see how they react differently because of their densities. So first up is the air dummy, which is going to just go flying away and disappear because there's no weight and there's nothing to stop it from flying. Aerogel goes pretty far, pretty fast, but it's got some weight to it, so it's a little bit slow. Lithium is very balanced. It gets knocked over, still stays in sight, but it's pretty lightweight. Water is actually pretty heavy. Just kind of flops over. And then lead doesn't move, because lead is very heavy. So, those are all the different densities and how they react to some physics in Rec Room. Now let's pop over here and I will show you how to configure density when you're building MakerPen objects. Great. So first I'm going to build one of these dummies from scratch so you can see all the steps to adding physics, making an object physical and changing its density. So I'm going to start out with just there's going to be two different shapes within this object, sphere and then a rectangular prism. Okay, done that. Now I'm going to, right now this is, if you go into your configure, once you're done making a shape or drawing a shape, if you go into your configure menu, you can change the physics mode between decoration, environment, physical, and sticky. The only two modes that are actually physical are physical and sticky. Physical is just a physical object and sticky is the same as physical, but it sticks to players. So now that I've made this physical, if I deselect it, it drops down to the ground because it's obeying gravity now. I'm going to scale it up a little bit. I'm going to clone this because I want to compare two of them. So to change the density of a physical object, and by the way, you can change the density of shapes within an object at any time. You don't need to. I made it physical first, just for the sake of this video. But actually, anytime you're making it, you can go into the menu and change the density. But so there's two configure menus for MakerPen objects. When you're not in edit mode, if you configure it, we see what we just saw with these options. There's another configure menu. If you go when you're in edit mode, go into edit mode, you can see the world turns a little bit white. And when you're in edit mode, if you choose the shapes within an object and you configure those, that's a different configure menu, and that's where your density option can be changed. So I'm going to make this one very heavy. You can see the default actually is aerogel, so that's what the one on the left, the left is going to be. I'm going to turn this one up to lead. Actually, I'm going to go in here so I can keep track. Color this. So now we've got two different shapes, two different objects configured with physics. And again, we'll see how they react. Aerogel goes flying, lead doesn't move. So that's how you configure density of physical objects in Rec Room. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit is you notice there were multiple shapes and I didn't configure the top one, I only configured the bottom one. That actually changes the balance of the whole object. All the weight is located down here. The top part is less heavy. And you can actually use that for some different things you might want to do. As an example, I've got here this robot that's light on top and very heavy on the bottom. And just to look at that, so remember we go into edit. Once we're in edit mode, we can go to the configure menu. And I've configured all this stuff up top to be air, so it's just really light. very light robot. But down at the bottom, I've configured it to be lead. So all of the weight in this physical object is focused towards the bottom, and that's why when I push it over, it pulls itself back up and tries to reorient. So that's something I haven't seen used very often. The first time I saw it used was by a player named Grandpa. Some of you may know, but it's something that I think some players could do some really interesting things with. So I hope you experiment with that, and I hope you experiment with other things you can do with physical objects in different densities. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.